Hey everyone, this is Chris from Noisewire. I'm here today with Raye from the eclectic electronic project Her Noise is Violence. How you doing today, Raye?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for being on the program with us tonight to talk about music. So let's start from the beginning. How did you get started producing music? Like, was it something you did early on in your life, or was it something that came later in life for you?
So when I was a kid, I was obsessed with music. So it just started young, and I tried to learn how to do different things. I took a few classes here or there, but like couldn't really afford to continue. So kind of waited until I was a teenager, started messing around a little bit. I would say early 20s, I got into DAWs and slowly started acquiring some MIDI gear and then built up from there. So I would say it was a lifelong journey.
Nice. What are your how did you get into electronic music and kind of like harsh noise and techno? Do you remember like your
But
earliest influences in those genres?
oh God. So it started again probably when I was younger in the 90s, just hearing just even the more commercial stuff at first got me interested into just pursuing different genres of electronic music. So I would hear things from like Enigma or The Prodigy or even just like Robert Miles. Like I went and branched out as I got older, searching through, finding like the harder stuff, going a little bit deeper. I got into metal and then, metal and electronic music kind of adjacently got into industrial and then digging deeper, finding noise and basically just ended up deciding to try to do my own thing. I would say definitely The Prodigy is a huge influence. Neubauten is a big influence. Bloody Minded, though, when I discovered Bloody Minded, my world changed. So
Nice,
that was
nice.
it for me.
So your most recent releases, Transmissions and Pain Shopping, are a return to your more harsh noise and ambient experimental sounds. It's not your first foray into that. I know you've released other harsh noise tracks earlier on in your career. But what inspired you to kind of revisit that part of your creative identity at this time?
Well, I've been working on some stuff, recording some stuff, just editing some things here and there. I kind of compiled what was to be transmissions. With just different things that I was working on. But pain shopping was a bit more intentional in that being it has a bit of a theme, kind of like centered around betrayal trauma and just it's almost like a reverse of what you typically see with noise. You kind of you get that other end of the serial killer end and some other topics probably not good to mention, but so I wanted to kind of do something from more the victim end but just have that like harsh, traumatic sound with it. Took a bit of a break from techno because we've been away from home for a few months, and life's been crazy. So I haven't really had time to really work on anything like that, just so to speak. But the noise stuff, I can record bits and pieces here or there, and just kind of get that out a little bit easier.
Can you talk a little bit about like some of the production techniques you used on either of those releases? Like, how did you? What was like your workflow? Do you record stuff in the wild and then kind of come back and piece it together? Like, how do you create it?
So I have a hybrid way of working on the noise. I have some pedals and different spring toys, different chains and things like that I like to record. I also like to record random sounds. I know this sounds funny, but my garbage disposal, certain sounds going on. If I'm out and I hear a strange machine, I've sampled farming machinery, all kinds of just sounds. If I like the sound and if I think I can do something with it, I'll record it and then I'll take it into my DAW and kind of work with it and kind of create some stuff. So I kind of have my own recordings, found sounds, field recordings, and then, sometimes there's a little synthetic stuff in there. I use some VSTs or synths, but mostly it's just splicing of those recordings and sounds together.
Were there any like? Did you go out of your way anywhere to make recordings for either of these, or was it just kind of like what came to you in your natural environment?
It kind of came to me. Sometimes I would mess around and try to get something to make a specific noise or put certain things into the garbage disposal and record that. Um, there's certain machinery that I would intentionally record, but for the most part, I will have these recordings and then I'll go back to them later and I'll work with them,
Yeah,
so to speak. So I kind of have a
I've,
sorry.
that's okay. I've talked to other artists. And this has been like a common theme. The idea that like you have an idea in your head and then you try to articulate it and then it somehow becomes something else. So like it's kind of out of your control and it's just the art does what it wants to do. Did you experience a lot of that when recording these two releases, or can you speak to that at all?
Transmissions, I definitely was more Japanoise influenced. I wanted to go harsher and really just get as harsh of a distorted sound as I could get. Crazy high frequencies, just I just wanted it to be a relentless sensory experience, so I kind of focused on that end of the frequency spectrum. With pain shopping, more so, I wanted the samples to kind of deliver the message, some of the clips and things like that. So I just used some of the recordings that I had previously, just saved and put that together with it and kind of edited around the samples for pain shopping. Pain shopping is a little bit more, uh, I would say, planned out. Transmissions is like, you know what, this is harsh. Let's see where we can go.
Nice. So, what's your setup compared to when you produce techno? Like, do you have gear that you use for techno that is like that you want to talk about? Like, what do you have in your studio right now?
So 90% of the techno stuff that I do, I actually use my DAW, using FL Studio. Right now, FL Studio 20. Before that, I was using a cracked version of FL Studio. The couple of pieces of hardware that I do have the Behringer's TD3 clone, and I have an Electribe too that I messed around with. But 90% of that is definitely DAW and VST.
Yeah, so you stay in the box pretty much.
Absolutely with FL Studio. I mean, there's some Korg VSTs that I use, but I'm very solidly an image line girl. I think Citrus is an awesome VST FM synthesizer. I think it's one of my favorites.
Is there anything in your studio right now that you think is fundamental, or something that you keep coming back to when you work on stuff, and you're like, this is a piece of gear that I just have to use?
Cheesy as it is, it's that DoD death metal pedal coupled with my Joyo Voodoo octave pedal. Like those two in any chain are that is key.
I wanted to ask what makes a good techno song to you? As somebody who produces techno, I listen to techno. I have like a surface level understanding of the various genres that techno encompasses. But you see some producers talk about like there's a formula, like you can kind of plan it out. For you as a producer, how do you feel about that? Like what to you makes a good techno song?
For me, I think number one is, can a DJ mix this? That's like number one for me, but also the feeling that the track gives me. But what I like to do, I guess it's not really much of a formula for me, but I do like to follow a couple of things. I always try to have like a lead in and a lead out added on for DJs, because I started as a DJ and I kind of wanted to make sure I kept that in the track. But for me, a good techno track, I feel like it's going out of the element. It's not just, a kick, a hat, and just a lead droning on and on for 8 minutes. But it's also not these newer things, these overly side-chained, overly compressed, super loud, just 2 minute long songs that just go from intro to climax and that's it. I like a journey, but I also like something that I can mix into another track and just kind of get like a seamless blend. I like having little frequency elements. I like having, definitely if there's acid involved, if there's a 303, I'm gonna like the track a bit more.
Nice. So you want to be able to mix it as a DJ, but you also want to have a unique sort of element to it that's not, so it's not just another cookie cutter track, right?
I think things start sounding way too similar, and then they also just start sounding robotic. Like, I understand, it's computer music, it's techno, but if you're not making minimal, you gotta bring something into it. Even if we're not all, classically trained musicians, or even if we don't know how to write or compose, a symphony, we should still be able to have some type of progression in there. Just give something, take away little elements, add little elements. I feel like there needs to be more of that flavor, and I'm noticing it's either this stiffness and rigidity of just like sample, 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 5 minutes, or lead in, short, climax, and for just like a quick like radio edit almost, but like everything is coming out in this like streamable radio edit, and I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And like as a DJ, that doesn't work.
No.
So talking about DJing, you said you started out as a DJ. For those who haven't experienced it, what are your DJ sets typically like? Does it depend on who's booking you and what the event is, or what do you like to play when you DJ?
So it definitely depends. I like to kind of stay more to the techno end of things if I can help it. Lately, I've been getting a lot more of the hard techno bookings. So if I'm going on that end, it could be anywhere from 140 BPM all the way to about 160, depending on the night. I like to read the crowd. I don't like to plan my sets. So I like to just go in there, see what's up, see what people are feeling out, and see what gets a certain crowd to move. Now, if I'm booked at more of a gothier event, a darker event, some of the darker techno stuff, some of the Byte Records stuff, some of the A&W stuff, I like to play, that's fun for that. But if you're booking me for acid techno or something like that, I'm going to be playing anything from, some old Josh Wink stuff all the way to something I literally just downloaded like a half hour before the gig, and whatever comes and feels good. It's a journey, and speaking of, I'm sorry to over talk on this, but it is important to me. I'm tired of a lot of places booking like 8 DJs for 5 hours where 30-minute sets are happening, and it's like, if for me, you need more than an hour to really like give it something, give a story, keep the room at a certain tempo, at a certain level. When you have people going from 128 and then the next DJ on waits till the song's over and then slams into like a really harsh track, I feel like it kind of messes up the energy. So I like a longer set.
So there's a couple things I want to ask you about based on what you were just saying. You talked about not planning your sets. I never planned my sets when I was DJing, and I was kind of taught that like you're supposed to feel the vibe of the room. You're supposed to be able to move around with your sets, right? Like if you feel like the energy is one place, you kind of want to tap into that energy and then move it to a place where everyone's going to start dancing and have a good time. But with techno, and this was always kind of, I noticed this when I was DJing Goth and Industrial, there were more techno DJs that were showing up with just like a CD, like a pre-programmed DJ set.
Oh, yeah.
And it feels like, I hear about like festival DJs and stuff where that's kind of like it's required because there's so much pyrotechnic and lighting and everything has to be like mapped together. So from your experience right now as a techno DJ, have you been in any situations where that's been kind of like the norm, where people are just showing up and playing pre-recorded sets, or are you still seeing a lot of people coming out and trying to do like an authentic, like feel the room sort of set?
I would say I've been DJing since 2009 in different genres. 95% of the time, I would say even 99% of the time, people are really up there doing their thing and spinning. But I'm not going to say any names or anything like that, but I've been on a lineup with someone that definitely just popped the CD in there, but it's not really a common thing, and it was so long ago that it really was a CD. So, but it definitely happens, but who's to say? I mean, maybe it's like a requirement of their manager. Personally, I can't do that.
Yeah.
At that point, it's like, what's the difference of me just popping on, a playlist on shuffle? Because it's just like a recording and mix and then just being like, oh, here. At that point, we could just have holograms with playlists,
Yeah. No, I just wanted to ask because I have seen it and I just wasn't sure if it was prevalent or because I've been out of DJing for a while, but it's good to hear that people are still like, doing it
Especially
as it
at
comes.
a more underground mid-tier level. Up at the top, I mean, I haven't really seen anything, but I've seen it happen, so I know it does happen, and I just it's I don't think it's cool.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm not into that either. And then you were talking about the events that have way too many DJs and not enough time. Where do you think that comes from with promoters? Do you think it's like just trying to get as many people on the bill to get as many people in the door as possible, or is it like a lack of trust? And do you think I think 30 minutes is way too short for a DJ to come up. Like it's not worth my time to show up and spin for 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I think some of the scenes definitely it's because more people means more people coming in. So if they have more people on the lineup and they all bring 10 people, maybe that's their logic with that. But in other scenes, I'm just wondering, is it because there's no control, discretion, or understanding that that's a bad idea? Like maybe it's somebody that's like kind of newer and they're just like, oh, I'm gonna have all five of these awesome people play in the same room in 4 hours, but it's something that I think with experience and time, hopefully we'll start seeing less of. It's interesting. I think there's more DJs than ever, and the quality of them has gone up, I think, or not gone up. I mean, back in the day they were good, but I mean, there's a lot of good DJs nowadays to pick through that aren't going to cost an arm and a leg, that would probably do it for free. So I think maybe they're just grabbing all the talent and throwing them out there.
Yeah. Do you have a hard time keeping up with what's coming out? Like, do you have any do you sit down for a day, a week, or something like that, and say I'm going to listen to as much new stuff as I can, or how do you approach that?
So I love so many genres of music that it becomes an obsessive thing. So there will be days at a time where I'm focused on some metal stuff. There's days at a time where it's like noise. And then I'm just like going through all the types of music that I would DJ, going through Bandcamp, just going on SoundCloud everywhere, just looking around. Beatport, not so much because they charge like $3 a track. And that's crazy. I want to give the artist more money. I like Bandcamp, but definitely if there's better alternatives, looking forward to seeing them.
Yeah, I never got into Beatport. I actually asked a DJ friend of mine like if I should get into Beatport, if there was anything in there that I was missing, and he was kind of like, no, not really. Like it is what it is, but it's not, there's nothing unique, I guess, coming out of there that you would want to have to get from there.
Yeah, you can get it somewhere else and give the artist a bit more money, which I like.
Yeah, yeah. So are there any genres outside of techno? You obviously listen to a lot of genres of music. Is there anything outside of techno and noise that you're interested in exploring, like as a producer?
I was very, very, cautiously tiptoeing in the idea of possibly starting either like a housey kind of electro thing, but I kind of backed away because then it's going to start marrying into the techno and probably just become a confusing mess. So probably won't do that. I have to stop myself because I want to try to do drum and bass, but I know that's probably going to be another rabbit hole that I go down. So if I do something, hopefully it's going to be like more of a collaborative thing with someone else, and maybe we'll have a band or project, like maybe metally, noisy, probably still along the same lines of what I'm already doing. Could be a more dark synthy thing, not really sure, but I know Lenny and I were actually talking about working on a project together, but
that would be convenient because you guys are in the same space, so
yeah,
you could just pick up and start producing whenever it suits your fancy.
Yeah, definitely once things calm down a little bit, there's some ideas brewing, so
Nice. I'd be excited to hear what that sounds like because I've been a big fan of what he's done in the past as well.
definitely looking forward to some of his stuff to come out soon, and well, not soon, but there's some newer stuff on the horizon.
Nice, nice. So I wanted to ask what it's like being a female techno and noise producer. it seems like it's pretty still male dominated. I do see female DJs in techno and producers in techno, but traditionally, you know, producers seem to be more male usually, or just traditionally. Like we've talked to other female artists who produce, and they often get fans that come up to them and ask them who the guy behind their band is and stuff like that. So I just want to get perspective from you. Do you think gender ever plays a role in how your art is interpreted? Like if somebody didn't know you were a female producing harsh noise, would they have a different perspective on it, or what have you experienced?
I definitely think that there have been times where I've thought that if I were male doing certain genres, maybe there would be a bit more reach, but at the same time, it's still really competitive. But I definitely have seen there's an easy path and there's a path that's a little bit harder. I'm a one person project, but I've had a few people come up to me and go, "Oh, who's helping you?" Or "Who are you dating that's doing this?" Or like, "Who did that for you?" And it's like, no, it's me. I've even had people a while ago, but it's happened, and they're like, "Oh, who recorded your DJ mixes?" And it's just the audacity of that. It sucks, but at the same time, a lot of scenes, the darker scenes, some of the rave scene stuff, they do these things where they call them ladies' night and they book all, you know, an all-female lineup, and that's fine. But I think that it's more damaging than helpful, because some of the only times these certain people get booked is if it's one of these lady night things. And I feel like if you're going to showcase new talent, you should showcase new talent and just kind of take the emphasis off what or who the performer is and kind of just say, hey, like, this person's playing. Because there is a bit of a bias. And then also, you know, they see the all ladies lineup and then it's always like good for girls or the best of the girls. And it's just like, I don't know.
It's kind of condescending. Yeah, right. Like, it's a special night just for the girls instead of the girls being integrated into the rest of the nights because they're talented and they can hold their own, you know?
It's like drawing attention to it more than just, you know, booking people and supporting whatever fits the genre.
Yeah. Is there anything you're listening to right now that in techno or noise or industrial that is really interesting to you? Is there anything you can point to that you've been thinking about putting in your DJ sets that you might not have gotten a chance to yet?
Well, there's stuff that I've been playing, just playing around with, but ironically, I would have to say I want to try to play more of my own music in my DJ sets, because I haven't really. I've had this like weird thing about doing it, so it's like a rare thing for me. So I kind of want to do that more so. I haven't really played much noise out. I'd like to do some more noise centric sets. I want to do a live noise performance, but if I could do a noise DJ set, I'd love to. Maybe like a more vinyl centric thing or something like that. Definitely want to play some Vatican Shadow. But you know, I'm kind of like just constantly sucking in new music, so I got a lot of stuff to go through.
Nice. Well, that's all I got for you today. I appreciate you coming on, and I've been a big fan of the stuff you've been putting out lately, and I really like that you're putting out stuff that's not linear or, you know, just like beat driven, and it's more on the experimental and noise side, because I feel like, you know, we need more representation for that side of the scene. And it's cool to see someone doing both, because usually it's either one or the other, right? Like, or you split it up or whatever. So thanks for all you've been doing.
Thank you. I definitely get some stuff sometimes about it, like, why don't you have separate projects, or, you know, what is this? But I'm just like, you know what, this is what it is, and I'm just gonna do what I want to do and kind of just see what happens from there.
Nice.
So,
well,
thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining us today, and best of luck to everything you're doing. We'll try to support how we can.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.